After months of paperwork and bureaucracy, of endless waiting, we finally had acquired a longer-term visa for Spain, longer than we had ever stayed before. And then sadly, we were stopped dead in our tracks. All of that work for nothing. Now, it's true that that stoppage happened because of COVID, but still, we had tried so hard. We had learned so much about the Schengen area, about travel visas. And as we're about to start doing that yet again, we wanted to take you along with our journey, to see what we've learned, to see what we haven't, to see what's changed. Because as the world reopens, knowing how all of this works for you. Now, I could sit here before you and lecture you endlessly on all of the nuances of the Schengen area of tourist visas, but I'm not going to do that because you're not going to want to watch it because, frankly, it's going to be boring. So let's do something really different. Let's play a game. Well, this is Schengenopoly. Schengenopoly? Really? And we rolled a 3, which means we landed on the Schengen area. First of all, if you're traveling to Europe, you have to know about the Schengen area. And yes, it is pronounced that way, Schengen. The area is not really complicated. It's an agreement between 26 countries in Europe that allow you to cross borders without restrictions and without limitations. Think about this. Here in the United States, when you're in country, there are no limitations as far as crossing between states. You want to fly from Virginia to California? You don't need special papers. You don't need special permission. Just get on the plane and fly. In the Schengen area, if you're in France and want to fly to Luxembourg, you don't need special permission either. Now, you are still going to need your passport, but it's not to clear passport control. It's like here in the United States, you still need to have an ID to buy your ticket to get on the airplane to go somewhere. Same thing there. Your passport is what is used to identify you. So basically, if you're traveling to Europe and you want to stay within those 26 countries of the Schengen Agreement, you never really have to show your passport again, at least not to some dude in a kiosk who's going to stamp you and maybe send you back home. Now, of course, if you leave the Schengen and want to come back in, you're going to have to do the whole passport thing again, plus customs, the whole gambit. So even if you left for Spain to the UK and then flew back into the area via Germany, you're still going to have to do the whole entrance rigmarole again. Why? You left the area, you came back. We roll the 4, which is tourist time limits. When you enter the Schengen area, you are coming in as a tourist on a tourist visa. Now, if you're coming from the United States or many other countries, it's not a physical piece of paper. It's not something you have to apply for. It's just implied. You're allowed to be within the Schengen area for 3 months out of every 6. Now, this can be kind of confusing, but at its simplest, least weirdest level, basically, you can go into the area, stay for 3 months, and then stay outside of it for 3 months. So for any given 6-month period, you can only be there half of the time. And staying outside of the Schengen area means staying outside of all 26 countries, not just the one you settled in or entered. Remember, once you're in the area, travel within is like being in a single country with no internal divisions, again, border-wise. The laws of each country are still going to apply. The tricky part comes when you're moving in and out of the Schengen. Now, for us, back in 2017, it's a really good example. We spent 2 weeks in Spain and then promptly went for 2 weeks in Morocco. Morocco was not a part of the Schengen, so how do you add that up? 1 month in, and half the time we were in, half the time we were out. How's that going to play with the rest of our 6 months? The math gets kind of hard because it's a rolling 6-month period, and you got to keep track of when you're in, when you're out, because they are stamping your passport and the authorities are going to know. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this, and I'm certainly not going to do any more math for you, but I do want to leave you with a couple thoughts on this one. Yes, you are going to have to track this, and you're going to have to track it really closely. Are they going to come grab you off some street corner and manhandle you over the border and never let you back into the country again because you overstayed your visa? No, they're probably not going to do that. But on the other hand, if you do significantly overstay and you try to come back in, they may frown on that. And in any case, you're a visitor to these countries. Be respectful. Follow their rules, follow their laws. If you want to stay longer than 3 months in a 6-month period, then get a longer term visa. Okay, we rolled a 5, which means we landed on staying longer. Now, there are 26 countries involved here, and they each have their own individual non-tourist visas. Way too many to recount here. Hell, even just in Spain alone, there's way too many to go through in just a single video. But there is a commonality involved in each because of the Schengen area. Now, when we decided to move to Spain back in early 2020, we had in our hands something called a non-lucrative visa. What that meant was we could stay longer than the 3 months allotted to our tourist visa, but it also meant that we had different obligations. Instead of staying 3 months in country out of every 6, we were flipped. We had to stay in country 6 months and a day out of every year. So it was a little bit different, but the Schengen area still affected us. And that brings me to one of 2 points I want to make while we're sitting here on this fine square. Does crossing over into another Schengen country have any effect on your longer term visa? And that answer is no. Our non-lucrative visa stated that we must be in Spain, not in the Schengen area. If you do pursue a longer-term visa, like a student or a work one, be aware that the Schengen agreement almost certainly isn't going to be a part of your residency requirements. Now, having said that, if we wanted to spend a few months in, say, France while we were there on a longer-term visa, we're allowed to. The Schengen area is about borders. Spain allowed us into the area for whether it's 3 months out of 6 for a tourist visa or for a much longer term because of our non-lucrative one. We can still travel anywhere within that area as if we were just in the country that we initially entered. Why? Because that's the agreement. It allows you to cross borders based on the requirements and the legalities that got you into any one of the countries. So a tourist visa, 3 months out of every 6, lets you move 3 months at will throughout. If you're there for a longer term visa, a residency, for example, you can cross borders all you want without passport control, without legal difficulties, because the one country lets you in this case, Spain. We roll the 5, which is sadly go back 3 squares. And for us, that means going back to a tourist visa. And the reason I want to bring this up and mention it to you, because what we're about to talk about right now is more likely what you're going to be doing when you go over to Europe. You see, starting in January 1st of 2022, we're going to travel the world, make a big looping circle all around it. But we want to spend some significant time in Spain because we love it there. Now, we could have again pursued a non-lucrative visa, but that would have forced us to stay within a single country for half of our planned trip, which wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm still planning on living there more or less permanently eventually. But as far as 2022, we need flexibility. So we're going to be dipping in and out of the Schengen area a lot, as you might imagine, which means my accounting and my math, well, they really need to be on point, because we do want to come back on a non-lucrative visa. We do want to become permanent residents, which means I want to be able to show them that we were really on top of our numbers. Now, if you're planning on traveling to Europe, especially some longer term travel to Europe, say up to 3 months of travel to Europe, you're going to have to know and understand the rules of the Schengen area. And I hope this video helped you a little bit. Just remember, Schengen is about crossing borders. It is about a common tourist visa that lets you in and lets you move about freely within the area. But if your travel plans have you popping in and out of the Schengen area, then you're going to have to learn the Schengen two-step, and you're going to have to play that little game of 1 toe in, a 1 toe out. And I highly encourage you to watch this space, because we're going to be playing that game too. And honestly, I'm going to need your help to sort of make sure my math is correct. And now, one last roll, it's double 6s. And with that, we get to go to